recording, so that's cool. So we'll just wait until it flashes up.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
How's things in your part of the world today?
Frigid. It's
Oh,
so great. It's so chilly. It's so cold. It was so
okay.
warm for so much of like November, but now it's finally winter. It feels great.
Yeah, yeah. The frozen. I know. We've had an unseasonably warm autumn, and then we had a beautiful snowstorm, which was glorious and got
Ooh.
us all feeling very festive. And then it's gone unseasonably warm again. So yeah, but I mean, it's changeable, isn't it? Like life, like the internet. Like yeah, art represented
Exactly.
life.
Take it one day at a time. Absolutely.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure. So, welcome to anybody that is joining us live, or if you're here on replay, the comments will be open. Seth and I thought we would get together today to discuss being social on Substack and some other strands of social media and some things. So, I'll get Seth to introduce himself and tell him about who he is in the world, and I'll do the same just in case you're new to our spaces. And then you're very welcome to ask questions if there's anything crops up. We'll take pauses throughout the recording and chat with you guys live, and then like I said, the comments are open on the replay. So yeah, Seth, tell us about yourself and Social Media Escape Club. It is, isn't it, that you write?
Yes. Social Media Escape Club actually started as heavy metal email because I work in the music world, and I wanted to see more of my clients and bands that I'm fans of put out newsletters because I kept seeing them. They were getting ignored, or no one could see their posts on social media. So I was like, hey, we need to get back to email newsletters, and that didn't go very far. It's trying to get it's like herding cats, trying to get bands and such to do stuff like that because social media is just so uh, everybody knows, like, oh, I gotta do social media, I gotta get my follower count up, I gotta, and so after a while, I about a year ago, October of 2023, I changed the name to Social Media Escape Club because so many people were reading not so many, but like there were a handful of people that were reading the newsletter that were like, wait, this doesn't just apply to heavy metal bands, this applies to photography, to writing, to this, to that. That's when I changed the name to Social Media Escape Club, and then things kind of did take off from there. So it's been a fantastic year because it's really resonated with not just people that want to like not look at their phones as much, but also like there's people that want to get off social media, but they fear like, wait, how can I do that if I'm in a band, if I'm an artist, if I'm a writer? How can I do that and get the word out? And that's kind of what I write about now.
I love that. And it's such an invitation as well. Like we can be there, but we can also escape it. And it's that thing, isn't it, where of course there's a whole host of dopamine and like other addictive forces at play. Like it was really interesting. Years ago, I was working with a really cool artist, and he was actually part of the programming team for fruit machines. So in the UK, like they'll be in the corner of a pub or something, a fruit machine, and the idea is, you get the lemons in a row and stuff. Like imagine Vegas, but it's just like on a tiny little scale. So he had been in this team, and he said it's the same methodology behind social media. And for the first time, it made sense to me, right? Because we have all been trying to work out, well, why I've picked it up again. What's all of the feelings and all of the thoughts and all of the emotions, and it all being relatively new to us to experience, to sort of see ourselves in that, to see our work in that, to see our ego in that, and
Mm-hmm.
working it all through to kind of actually go, what feels the most important use of my time. And I think we're quite similar in that. I started Swackle and Substack because I wanted to invite creatives in, and creatives will always say, oh, I don't really write, like I can write a bit, but so it's always that apology piece. And I was like, guys, all we're doing is sparkling on Substack, so you do not have to be a polished writer, you don't have to be a published author, you can be those things, that's cool, but just let's show up, because what I'm talking about is actually reclaiming your creative voice and being here in a way that makes sense to you, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we can all do whatever we want on Substack. That's the joy of it. That's
Yes.
why you and I are here now doing a live. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. It's really interesting because I came up with a term for this. I call it mullet marketing because we've business in front, party in the back. You get the long hair back here,
Mm-hmm.
and we've all come to like learn and imitate. Like social media is where you put the fun stuff. That's the party stuff. Here's this cool photo. Here's a small video of me at this store or this or that. But when it comes time to email, oh no, that's business. That's the business up front, and it's just a still image of my book or my thing, and a buy button. And
Mhm,
it's like we
mhm,
have this preconceived notion of like what a newsletter can be, and which is why so many creative people say, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do a newsletter. It's too salesy. It's too it comes
mhm,
off too
mhm.
promotional." And it's like, like spend 5 minutes on Substack, and you'll see how creative newsletters can be. You could
For
do
sure.
you could do so much with it now. So
So
yeah.
much, and Russell and I wrote about that in that very thing in our book, How to Build a World Class Substack, because we're coming at it from two very different positions. But the thing that we really agree on is about, yeah, the fluidity in terms of, when I first came to Substack, it was a space for long form writing, kind of like a blog hybrid, but I didn't really need to label it. I just knew that I was enjoying spending time there away from social media. I found that I'd lost my voice on social media and I wanted to refine that voice. And so that is the through line of all of my work, really. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was very much like a Substack, right? And I know, and I do say to my members, try not to call it a Substack because people don't know what it is or what it
They
means.
don't.
Is it a news? So for me, it was long form writing, and I was inviting people in to be with my words, and I was building community at the same time, and it morphed from that. But I think even in the here and now, we can choose, if it feels right to write a traditional newsletter that is part chatty update. And yeah, there are some things for sale, like we need to make money as creatives. That's cool. But it can also be a series of different things: audio, video, podcasting,
Yeah.
just so many different things, can't it? And I suppose that's hard for people to take that permission slip
Mm.
because social media boxes us in. We might try something creatively and we can get to this, but if it doesn't work, we're like, oh, we're doing it wrong, so we need to change how we do it. Whereas on Substack, we can do anything we want and we take our readers along with us, paid members along with us, paid subscribers, however we want to do it. But it's like, this is me front
Mhm.
and center, creating a hub of writing, audio, whatever, like thought provoking stuff, and you can come with me. So just feels different, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's the idea that, because I really think with social, like, this is my thinking too, is like people on social media want to be on social media, and they want to, like, here's this bite-sized thing, here's this bite-sized thing, here's this video, here's this 4-second video, and so if you're not like keeping up with that, or if you're not, you know working within that like framework, it for a lot of artists, for a lot of writers, for photographers, we don't want to do that. Our
Mm,
stuff is such long. I mean, think of like, photo exhibits where it's just a beautiful building with photos on the walls, and people and they read the captions, and it's like all of this stuff. It's not just boom, here's a photo, here's a photo.
mm,
So yeah, doing that then with a newsletter is just so refreshing, because when it comes to your inbox, that's it. Like there's nothing, there's nothing on the sides. There's no promoted videos. There's no algorithm. It's just this email in your inbox. And I think that slows everything down to where people can take in what you're trying to put across. And you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be a wizard with words. If you just write like you talk, like just
mhm,
doing that, just
mhm.
being your true self, and you're able to do that. I always think that too, of like, a lot of creative people will say, well, what am I going to put in a newsletter? What am I going to write? And I'm like, you're writing 300-word captions on Instagram. Copy and paste that to start.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
you
Yeah, for sure.
know,
I
so,
think
so,
so. I think it's just that mindset shift, isn't it? Because it feel that blank page, whether that's like the blank page of a new notebook or the blank page of a Substack, it just feels scary. And so coming to that, like with so much grace around what your creative practice actually is so important.
mm,
So if you want to put your song lyrics up there, like here's the lyrics, guys. Like I'm always
yes,
looking for song lyrics. I'm like, what did they
yes.
say again? Like, let's look at that. And my daughter, she's learnt to talk recently, and she's obsessed if there's a new song, and she'll always sing words in like a funny way, and I
Oh,
don't correct her. I'm just like, she's made a song, like she's made it her own. I love that. So there's so much with words and language in the way that we can come to things. I think the way that I was in festivals and events before I started working online. And so there was, in some cases, 10 months of work went into a 10-day festival.
oof.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And it was all about the audience experience, the participatory experience, the build up, right? And I feel like the reason I stayed so addicted to that work for so long was because there's nothing else like it, right? Like when
Oh.
you're there with a live audience and you've worked so hard with a team of artists and like some of the best people in the world,
Mm.
like those feelings, like you just can't imitate those, you can't replace them. They're just the one of a kind. And I do feel really passionately about when we're able to slow our brains down and truly experience the art that we're being presented, whether that's words and writing, audio, video, whether that's photography, like any of it is possible on Substack. But the invitation is we're not being distracted in loads of different places. And that's obviously the newsletter in its purest form and the Substack website and how we manage subscriber flow. But then we have these other opportunities to collaborate, like we're doing here, to
Hmm.
reach out, to kind of find new readers and to kind of manage that whole thing. And because within Sparkle on Substack, that space is very inclusive and it's very accessibility friendly. I'm saying to people when Substack roll out the new things, the new social media esque things, don't worry, guys. Like, don't worry. That can all exist, but we can still keep doing the work here and then we can work out what we're doing over there. And I would love your take on it. Like, you've been here and you've experienced, maybe some of the fallout, some of the things that people are nervous about, like about the platform, about their experience, their user experience. What are your thoughts? What do you feel about it all at this moment?
Yeah, I was here before Substack Notes came out. I started the newsletter in 2021, and I just remember then it was like you just wrote and like kind of hoped, I guess, people saw stuff,
Mm-hmm,
and through your
mm-hmm,
own network and whatever. You could go on to other people's comments, or whatever. You could see other people links and stuff, and you could find one another that way. Then they rolled out Substack Notes, which, yeah, is totally social media. Like there's an algorithm to it. You have no control over it. You could work for hours on a post, and it could fall flat. Or you could also just take a picture of coffee and pumpkin pie for breakfast that I did earlier, and that could get like 50 likes. Who even knows? So but the thing I always say, because I see people like really railing against it. Oh, I didn't come here. This is social media. This is social media.
mm-hmm,
But it's social media that makes it one click closer to getting an email subscriber. Like nothing else can do that. Like Instagram and Twitter and all these things, TikTok, make your vertical video and hope someone clicks on your bio or this. I don't use TikTok. I don't even know how it works, which is fine.
mm,
I plead total ignorance on TikTok. But trying to get anyone off of that to come to your thing, to then click, to then like Substack makes it so easy. And then there's the argument like, well, yeah, but it's not everybody's here. There's not like who stop. Who cares? Like if it's 10 people, that's 10 people. Like,
mm-hmm,
oh, but
mm-hmm,
it's just all Substack writers and this like they like music too. They appreciate.
mm-hmm,
I'm on
mm-hmm,
here, and I'm a writer, but I appreciate photography and
mm-hmm,
all this amazing writing that's going around. Stuff
mm-hmm,
that I'm learning from people. Like, yeah, I'm just a writer. Just because 80 million people aren't here, like Twitter or this or YouTube or whatever. Who cares? Get to work. Bring them here.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not even bring them here, but like send them to your Substack and let them subscribe. Like
mm-hmm,
it's not Substack's job to bring you subscribers.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
They give you the tools to make it very
mm-hmm,
easy for people to subscribe. But like they can't. They're not a mall. They can't just open up and be like, okay, here's all your fans. Here you go. Here's 10,000 new people
mm-hmm,
that are gonna love your work about I don't know, porcelain dolls or something. Like, I don't know. Whenever I try to come up with like fake subject matters for people's Substack, I always I'll flub it. But yeah, I really think Substack's the tool if you rely on it to like be the driver of everything, just as if you rely on if we've learned nothing, like we can't rely on Facebook. Like Facebook showed us
mm-hmm,
who they were back in 2015 when they changed
mm-hmm,
algorithms and upset everything and pivoted to video. Like all these outlets, like any platform, we cannot rely on them to give us the traffic. like we're the traffic. Like we're the reason that people want to come and subscribe. So
Yeah, press the buttons.
what's
We
what's that?
press the button. Just press the buttons. Press the button here, do a
Yeah,
thing here. Like,
yeah.
I think it's that law of averages. It's like if you press enough buttons, and there's
Yes.
this whole space around virality, which I've never been viral. I've never gone
Mm,
viral anywhere, right? So it's really interesting for me when friends do,
hmm
because there's definitely that bit of like, oh, right, I should have made this happen by now. And it's like, I can't make it happen. It's a lottery. It's a complete
mm,
lottery. And it doesn't matter how many social media classes that I've taken or how much I've lent into even being interested in posting reels for 90 days. I'm saying interested because I've never done that. I've never done 30 days. I've never done 10 days. I've never done it. Like, so I could for sure. I'm
hmm
interested enough to go, okay, if I wanted more people to see my work, is it worth my energy posting 90 days of reels on the hope that I might go viral? Not at this present moment. No, it is not. It is not, because
hmm
I am having a joyous time on Substack. I
Yes.
just love the work that I do. I love being in service to my members. I just adore the platform. I adore what it's opened up for me, what
hmm
it's made possible for me, the way that my brain isn't tired, in the way that it can be when you're across multiple platforms, doing multiple things, cross purposing, doing all the things. Like, I can be strategic in the way that I show up in other spaces. So, a year or so ago, maybe 18 months ago, I taught a masterclass called Choose Two, and it was about choosing two platforms, right? So,
hmm
not even two social medias, two platforms to master, to be
Yeah.
really good at, to feel like, okay, like I've put the energy in. And the first platform you would give 80% of your energy to, so like my Substack, and the other platform you would give 20% of your energy to. And you can adjust that percentage, right? Like, yourself, and it'll just depend how your energy is online, what work you've got in the archive, like what you want to do, what
hmm
you're passionate about. Um, for lots of the people that I work with, they don't want to do video yet. They don't
hmm
want to do audio yet, but there's a journey perhaps to get there. So I think when we realize how much a choice we have in terms of these years that we spend sharing our art, it's actually really empowering to think, okay, but and I know this when I listen to podcasts about Instagram, they're all then talking about, okay, so like I got 250,000 followers on Instagram, and I've been growing my business through stories and all things. And then they go around to like how many email subscribers got, and they're like, oh yeah, I've got about 6,500 email subscribers now. I'm like, guys, like, you're doing all of this work and it's amazing, but like there's a whole platform over here where you
hmm
can grow your email list without any of that, and then just
hmm
speak to the people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I feel like sometimes, are we missing something? Are they missing something? Like, but I think it deep down, it's about the platform that we have the most connection to. For some people, TikTok is the funnest place to be, and they love that they can get traction there, and that feels really fun, and they love the gamification of it all. I went on and I just sort of forgot my name for about a week. I was like, what? No, bees, there's
hmm
bees. I can watch videos of bees. Like, there was just so much. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know
Right.
how I can be on that platform and still have like creative purity. Like, my essence just gets so muddied if I spend time. So, I think what I'm saying is, the big thing about all of it is we've got a choice, but you and I are very passionate about at least come to the blank page of a newsletter and question what you think it could be for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. To your point of like you go on TikTok or you go on Instagram and you see all this stuff. And I had this talk recently in a call, but it was just like always got to be creating something new. You got to post something new today or even twice a day, three times, four times a day. Like I'm sure everyone would have opinions about the name I'm about to say. Gary Vaynerchuk says post 12 times a day on multiple outlets. Like some of that stuff's going to work for some people.
It's
Fine.
gonna work. Yeah, it's
But
gonna work.
because
We're not
right,
denying that. Yeah.
but
Hmm.
because it works for that person that wants to hustle, hashtag hustle, fine. You can go do that. That doesn't mean we have to do that. Like
Hmm.
as artists, as writers, like we do. I talk to artists about this. Is they send one newsletter a week, and that makes them money. That gets them booked. That gets one, and it doesn't take all. Maybe it takes half the day to put together because they're doing this. I did this and I did that, whatever. But you're not posting and looking at your phone 3 hours a day, engaging and doing marketing for your thing. You're sending one newsletter a day, a week.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe you send two or just twice a month, and it can have result. It can show results because the people that are on your email list. I've been thinking about this lately. Like when we all signed up for social media back in the day, it doesn't do anything until you follow them. Like you got to follow the brands, you got to follow the bands, you got to follow the artists, you got to follow this and the networks and the magazines. Now all of a sudden you're following 1,200 things,
Mhm.
but it was easy because you never felt like, oh no, I'm following all this stuff. Now I'm going to get all this spam or whatever like that. It was
Mhm.
kind of like, no, it's on the phone. It'll come in as it comes in. Fine.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why people don't subscribe to 1,200 newsletters because like we just can't. Like our email
Mhm.
box, our inbox is sacred. And so like for one person to give you their email address, that's like divine. That's oh my what a pleasure, what an honor. And so to ever think like, yeah, I only have 10 subscribers, I only have 15. Are you kidding? There's big name, big time artists out there with awards and selling album whatever that don't have an email list. That they're
Mhm.
stuck on Instagram and they can't reach their audience. They can only reach 3% of their audience with every post. And they're tied to that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's super interesting. And I suppose, like, to take the music analogy, me and my husband went to see a gig last month, Stephen Wilson Jr., and it was absolutely incredible. Like, it was in a really small, intimate venue. And my husband's been listening to him for a while. And I was like,
Steven Wilson Porcupine
Junior.
Tree? Oh, it's not
Which,
Porcupine Tree.
no, no, I don't think so.
Oh, okay,
No.
sorry. I thought that was another Steven Wilson. Sorry.
Yeah, still
Okay.
Stephen Wilson Jr. is called, but yeah,
Oh,
I shared his music actually on Thanksgiving Day for like for you guys in the US
okay.
because it's been so like just so life changing to have
Mm,
been at that gig, like to have experienced that thing with him. And then of course, straight away I'm like, okay, where do I follow him online? Like subscribe to his YouTube, subscribe to his Instagram. Like I don't want to miss a beat, right? There was no newsletter. Like so
of course.
I'm
Yeah.
sure if I look hard enough, like maybe there'll be one in time, but it was like I just wanted that. Like, I wanted that precious memory, like, that reminder coming in. Like, I want to know when he's next in the UK. I want to know what he's up to. Like, I feel like he's my friend. Like, all the
Sure.
stuff that goes on when you really appreciate someone's work. And I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes taking it back to that to the realization that it takes a while to build, but when someone really appreciates your work, they're going to talk about you on a live Substack call and people are going to be like, wait, who's
Mm-hmm.
she talking
Yes.
about?
Starts a
And so
conversation. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, like that snowball effect. And my husband told me recently that he's like just kind of blown up, like it was already big-ish but not like huge, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all blowing up like because of this tour. So I
Sure.
haven't looked at any stats or anything like that, but I just think it's so interesting because we can share so readily. Like if I recommend someone on Substack, or if I did a gift guide yesterday, which was like a lot of stuff that my members had recommended, and I really enjoyed curating it and being like, look at all these wonderful people, and like sending it to my list of 8,500 people. Like I love doing that. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would just always choose to do that and cheerlead people. And there's lots of people like me that want to support others. And that can really help things move and grow here
Oh.
too. Whereas on socials, I have people with big followings will share my Instagram. I might get one new follower, and then how do I, unless I've got their email, like how do I ever find them again? Right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like this kind of void of like lost people wandering around wondering what to look at next, and it's like whatever is going to be the most interesting, grabby, colorful, jealousy inducing. I don't know what it is. I still haven't figured it out for myself. I have to take big periods of time off Instagram, like, and I know it's heading into one of those times now. It usually does around this time of year, but there's a whole load of stuff that's presented to me that makes me feel not good enough. And like, who wants
Mm.
to create from that place? I don't. I'll just delete the app for a few weeks, reset, go back in.
Oh, absolutely. And really it's a lot of people, and I think I envision this like there's a lot of people that go to work every day at Meta and Twitter or X, whatever we want to call it, and like they get paid to keep us on those platforms. Like
Yeah.
that's like and we've been led to believe for the past decade like that's where you had to be. Like we had to be there, and if we weren't, like, and that's what it is today. Like when you ever mention that to anybody of like not being on social media, it's like, well, how How can I ever know about anything ever? And like I've deleted all, right? Like
Mm.
I'll miss everything, and it's like if again, if you're relying on a platform to just give you everything all the time, like it's just not fun because well, I see that all the time too, even on Substack notes, like, oh, they're not showing me who I follow and this and that. Like, well, go find them, go look for, like,
And
stop.
seek them out. Yeah.
Yeah, or
100%.
find the newsletters to subscribe to. Oh, well, how am I even
Yeah.
going to find, like, we've lost that ability to like find stuff, like
Mm.
music's I mean, because that's the world I'm in, but like music's the big thing. Like, oh, Spotify is not showing me this new stuff, this, well, go find it, like,
Yeah.
go. One of the biggest things is like one of my favorite albums from last year, like a friend randomly sent me a link to an artist on Bandcamp. um and like they're one of my favorite records, and
Mm.
I look, they have like 300 monthly streams on Spotify. They're, who are they? But oh
Hmm.
my goodness, they're amazing. I went to Bandcamp and I
And
bought
you
their
love
album.
them.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because yeah, talk to people that love music or
Yeah.
books. Talk to people that love books. What are you reading? What, there's no shortage of people that will be able to tell you what's going on in the news if I'm not
Yeah.
on social media. Like
Yeah.
it's all out there. So
It is, yeah,
it's
and there's always those people that'll tell you about things in person as well. Like to go back to that analogy of how passionate you feel about someone's work, like that just spills out and naturally comes out. And as you were talking, I was thinking about a couple of things really, but a couple of my members, Tanya and Tony, have had like a really successful launch of a podcast called The Bibliotherapist, and I'm going to be on one of the episodes. I think it's coming out on Friday, but they did things in such a way that there was like a critical mass of people that knew about it all at once, and then they
mm,
hit like top 6 on Apple on the weekend of launch, and it was just super awesome. And Tanya was voice noting me being like, I don't really understand any of it, but isn't it amazing? It's like, yeah, because you brought people together who
oh.
love books, want to talk about books, like want to share you and your work. And it's like all this beautiful storm of like, there's a thing and you might want to listen to it. Substack, mainly on Substack. And they did call it on Instagram a Substack podcast, which I really liked. We're still, like I said, we're still finding the language to describe
Mhm.
what it is that we're doing here. There's a few questions come in which it would be lovely to get to as well. But I think in terms of our approach to what we're doing on Substack, so I talk about this a lot. So primarily, I'm a curator of my own Substack experience for sure, but a space like a membership hub, right? And there'll be free resources within that as well. But it's a hub for members over at Sparkle on Substack. And I write more memoir based pieces, which people share and comment on. And that's beautiful over in another publication. And
Mhm.
I feel like just remembering what it is that we're here to do for ourselves. So if we enjoy reading, I have some reading slots in the evening. That's gorgeous. Like a couple on a Sunday that I really like to read. Then that's really clear. And I'll go and seek out those experiences because I've always loved doing that. And
Mhm.
then what we're curating for other people, we can bring them in, from notes. We can bring them in through our subscriber only chat. There are ways to be more intimate with our readers and start conversations that can do all sorts of things from collaboration to just depth of connection and just really kind of circling around and going, what what lights you up, what is your passion, like what are we
Mhm.
all doing here? And I don't feel we get that same thing on social media. It's just, yes, I can have some lovely DMs and do some voice notes with folks and stuff on Instagram, and I do that, but then I'm pretty much putting the app down, right? Like, so it's like that's it, done. Whereas on
Mhm.
Substack, I think we're invited to pull up a chair, make a cup of tea, like spend
Totally.
more time and like slow down a bit more. So yeah, I feel like remembering that is something that I really wanted to get across in this video today, and inviting you all to remember it over the holidays. Like, remember what it is that you want to do, and that temperature check, like I described, of when I know a space isn't good for me, like I just don't go there, right? Like,
Yeah,
no
right.
thanks.
Right. Right. It's the holidays. Like I'm gonna avoid them all. Like I'm
Mm,
not going anywhere near there.
not good in the mall, no.
And so the same way, and I've always said this, like, social media is like the food court at the mall. Like there's just and as a youth, yes, in high school I was at the food court because that's where you were seen and that's where you met your fellow nerds and musician friends and people from school. You would go there, but then I met my musician friends at a young age, like in high school, and we got the heck out of there. and we went to my friend's parents' basement, and we
Mm.
like banged around on guitars and drums
Hmm.
and started playing shows. And then we went to play venues. I found old flyer of mine from like literally 1994. It's the worst looking flyer ever.
Oh,
Because it was, yeah,
cute.
because it was me. It was like, I did we were called Lemonwood, the worst name
Oh,
ever. Don't ever call your band Lemonwood. But whatever. That was youthful exuberance. 93,
zesty,
94.
yeah,
Yeah,
exuberance,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But all that came, that I could still talk about that and be stoked about that and have that flyer because I left the freaking food court.
Mm-hmm.
We went and we did this stuff. Like, yes, there were all these cool kids at the food court, but I met these four other people and we started a band. It was just four people, but
Mm-hmm.
those four people, like, that set my trajectory to where I am now, 20, 30, whatever
Mm-hmm.
years later, because
Mm-hmm.
I stopped hanging out where everyone was. I found my people, my core people, and whether
Mm.
that's in a band or your new email list, like, your people can take you very far. And I, knock on wood, it's 20 plus years of like doing what I do professionally, like online, came from core people and
Core
not
people, I
everybody,
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And we had a bit of that conversation in the Sparkle call this morning because we were talking about creative ways to use Substack chat and the fact that it is pretty much an app-based experience or a
Mm,
desktop-based experience, so when people are reading an email, it's just about knowing that, that they're an
mhm,
email and we can invite them to come over, but we need a reason to be bringing them over. And so it's that kind of critical mass, that tipping point where my subscriber only chat is for paid subscribers only. So paid
mhm,
subscribers can start chats, and I do something called an Ask Me Anything on a Monday, mainly to sort of welcome and bring new people in, but also remind people like I'm here doing the work with you. Like I'm
mhm,
here for you, and I'm here doing the work, and like we're in this together because obviously, for the most part, it's not anybody's full time job to do Substack, although it definitely
right.
is mine these days. So it's just that approach of you don't have to be everywhere, but if it
Mm,
feels like a good space to show up and share more intimately, like especially for photographers, I think it's brilliant for photographers to have that chat space because we can share real quick snapshots,
mm,
photography, screenshots. We can add our buddies in there, that all of that can be
mhm,
chatty, in
yeah.
chat. So I do really like that space. And I think that we'll see more of that used next year.
Mm.
I've put together a bit of a trend report. Like I'm not a trend forecaster, but obviously when you're as geeky as I am about a platform, like
Mhm,
there's so much that I feel like I'm riding the wave of that I want to share with my audience. So yeah,
mhm,
that's one of the things that I really wanted to like capitalize on this morning and just be like, how are you guys thinking about it? Because here's all the things that I think about it. And maybe you could just give that some more thought in 2025. I know Andy's here, lovely Andy Adams, or he was here, and he asked a
I saw that.
question
Yeah.
and says, it's lovely to see and hear you both. That is very sweet, Andy. Here we are.
Yes.
A question for you. Is social media still worth our time in 2024, or should we be focusing exclusively on our newsletters and owning the relationship to our readers by email? Thanks in advance. Now, this is really interesting because I joined Blue Sky. I got the FOMO, but in my defense,
Whatever.
okay, I'm not going to go and be a Blue Sky teacher. That's not what it's about. What I was really fascinated with is that I'd seen so many people on Substack talk about Blue Sky. And my husband's an early adopter, so he's the one that
Mhm.
got me onto Substack in 2022. And look how that panned out. Anyway, he was like, well, I went on Blue Sky when it was invite only. And I was like,
Mm,
so what is it like, but because I feel like for me, as part of my creative practice, it's really good to come to spaces where I don't know anyone, they don't know me, and
mhm.
I don't know the platform because it helps me be in service better on Substack because they made Substack a little bit more complicated, and
Sure.
people get so confused and overwhelmed. And when I'm trying to teach, okay, this is how you do this is how you set it all up, it's actually really helpful if I've had that experience and felt frustrated with a platform.
Yeah.
So, in my defense, that was why. But I was creatively curious. So, I found Andy on Blue Sky. I
Mm,
have like three friends there.
mhm,
And I asked him, okay, like, what are we doing here? Like, how do you find people? How do you teach the algorithm that you don't care about seeing politics? Not that I don't care about politics. Careful, I don't care about seeing politics. I don't want to
I
know. That's
I know. I
again
know.
going to take my
Mm.
creativity away. So me and Andy had a lovely little chat about that. And so I think for Andy, it's really interesting because he's got a massively successful Substack space.
Hmm.
He's really good at gathering photographers together and inviting people to be part of something, and that feels really, really beautiful. So I think that's a gorgeous question. And again, although I would encourage people, as a mentor, to go deeply inside and like reflect on the year
Hmm.
that you've had and then set goals for the future and see what's coming up for you. I'd love your take on it, Seth, like what you think. I mean, we've spoken to some of the points about email newsletters and our passions for them, but what do you think of that question?
My thought is, and I see this on Substack, and it takes all my power to not reply or subtweet when I see this or subs no, Substack. Sorry,
Yes, something like that.
it's something like that. My thinking is this, and I see this all the time in email newsletters, email campaigns, is if you get someone to see your thing on Substack notes or an email newsletter, and the purpose of that post then is to say or direct, like, hey, follow me at this other place
Mm,
where eventually I won't be able to reach you because it's going to get so big and so popular. The algorithm is going to take over, and we're going to be back where we're at with Twitter and Instagram, where I only reach 5% of my followers.
mhm,
I see this in newsletters, email campaigns, e-commerce stuff. Like, hey, here's all this stuff. I have your attention, but go follow me on Instagram, where only 5% of you are going to see anything we post ever. My thinking is it's an opportunity. Every single thing we post, whether on Substack or our email newsletter, is just a chance to go deeper presently right there.
mhm,
And I don't, in 2024, 2020, going into 25, I don't see the value. Yes, test it out. Go see, like in your case, test it out. St. Andy too. Yes, there's photographers everywhere here and there. I just can't see spending much time on those platforms because they're those platforms that that if you spend time on them, yes, there's people there, but there's people right here. There's people like
mhm.
the people you're posting that Substack note to tell you to go follow you on Blue Sky would probably rather hear something. Not to pick on Andy. Here's this great piece of photography equipment I found, or this neat story of a photographer in this town that did this cool project, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I get it that there's people on Blue. I almost called it Blue Note, Blue Sky, or whatever that appreciate those stories, but like I just don't see chasing and going to all these different platforms. Like it wasn't too long ago there was an Instagram replacement, right? I forget the name of it.
Threads. Yeah, threads. Well, I'm on threads. I'm testing out
Oh,
the threads.
okay, yeah, there's threads, but there was like some new thing that photographers could
Oh,
upload
different.
photos
Okay.
to, and that was going to be the cool hip new place, and I'm sure there's a bunch of photographers over there doing their thing. That's great, but like
Mm,
I feel that if you have 500 people in front of you waiting to hear from you and have signed up to say, I want to hear more of what you say, I don't think we should spend so much time saying, go follow me somewhere else now.
mhm,
I'm right
mhm,
here.
mhm.
And I say that as someone who's deleted all their social media. So,
Yes, and that's a really important point. So I took a course with one of my mentors, which they were off social media for like 2 years,
mhm.
and run like a really successful, multi-million-dollar business. And so they created a course which was around marketing without social media, right? And like you said in this call, people will be like, "Well, I couldn't not," but you can, you can, and actually I almost feel like this is really bold, so bear with me, but I
Mm,
feel we're doing ourselves a creative disservice by showing up on those platforms, turning ourselves into marketeers, twisting ourselves into like video formats and 2-second transitions and whatever else we're doing, and moving away from our creative essence. Because one thing is creativity and creative congruence, and the other thing is marketing, right? What do you want the marketing to do? Do you want more follows? Do you want people to buy your stuff? Do you want people to see your stuff? Like, you have to be so careful and purposeful about what it is that you're there to do. And just to sort of say, within all of that, there is there is part of it where I'm like, sure, it's funny to see people doing elf on the shelf, like that's the current thing social media this weekend, parents that I follow. Sure, it's funny. Do
Hmm.
I need to see everybody's elf on the shelf every day of December? No. Like, it would just be like a really funny thing of a Sunday afternoon, knowing how we want to consume social media and then
Hmm.
how we want to create for our audiences, and holding those two things as very, very separate things. I think, yeah, that's been really key for me, just to kind of go, okay, I'm here, I'm consuming, I'm here researching, I'm here, I'm creating. And like, it has to be, for me, for my money, like 95% and upwards creating for our audience.
Hmm.
Otherwise, well, what are we doing? Just like a mad Pied Piper sketch. I don't know.
Right. Well, and social media has done this. We always have to be chasing more, and we
More,
see
more,
it with
more. Mm.
these companies too, with social media companies or any company really. It's all about more, more, more,
Mm.
more. Like, I mean,
Mm.
I grew up with like I switched to a Mac in 2003. Sure, fine. I bought Mac products, this, that, and the other over the years, and here we are, all these years later, and and they're doing this and they're doing that, and now they're clamping down on like fees that Patreon takes, on the iOS store. And it's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because they need more. Like, it's not enough that they make a $3,500 virtual thing. Now they need to take 48 cents off of someone who's supporting someone for $5 a month on Patreon. Like, Apple
Mm.
needs more. And it's like, what? No, stop. But that trickles down to us, like as artists, as writers, as whatever we're doing online. Like, I just need more. I just need more. I just need more. And there's already, there's people in front of you, but there's also people around us locally or in our contacts list that have no idea what the heck we're doing. Friends of
Mm.
ours that,
Mhm.
in fact, former customers, people that we've worked
Mm.
with before, that have no idea that we're doing the stuff that we're doing.
Mm.
And there's
Mhm.
the opportunity. Like I was telling this to a client recently that was just starting to like re-get their email list going. They're like, well, how do I get people on it and this and that? And should I just send the link to everybody? And I was like, don't do that. The dreaded send to 400 people like, hey, I have a newsletter, sign up. Like,
Mm.
no, don't do that. This person has a deep like work history, has done really great, cool projects with a bunch of amazing people and clients. And I was like, so that person has a ton of stories. Okay, that's a story. One newsletter is a story, but there's people associated with that in your life, in your contacts list, that were part of that. So
Mm.
write the thing and then email those three people that were involved at that company that you were in 15 years ago and been like, hey, remember this? I
Mhm.
wrote about that time we were at that company. We did this big cool thing at this client, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's your next three subscribers, and
Mm.
it's people you already know. It's like it's like an easy get, like, and it's not like this cheap like growth hack because it's three people. Like, oh my goodness,
Mhm.
that's going to take forever to get 100, but it's three people, and you and I both know it takes one person to change everything in any of this. It takes one creative director, one client, one whatever to like
Mm.
change your life.
It's so true. And yeah, there's something really beautiful about that. How will I describe this? Like, it's almost like a deep knowing when that person recognizes the beauty of your work. So
Hmm.
there will be all eyes on your work of different types. You'll have an open rate that is a percentage, and that's fine. But because I still see lots of people in real life, I met up with somebody a few weeks ago, and through my cultural career, I've been really lucky to get this commission where I can give Substack support mentoring to creatives in Northumberland, where I live, which is fully funded by the UK government. I mean, it's incredible. So, of
Right.
course, I'm like, guys, hold a phone. Like, you get me for free. This is what we're going to do. So, one of the people who has paid me to work with her separately, I got her on this course. That we're doing this program. And when I went to our little cottage and she made me a tea and stuff like that, it was so beautiful. She's amazing, like in her own right. She's an ex-magazine editor, a journalist. Like, she's just awesome. Like, she moved up from the city to be closer to the wild beaches and the wild spaces up
Mm.
here. And I said something about, and it was like statistical to do with my Substack, and she just got hold of both of my hands and was like, Claire, and it was like, I was like, oh, and you forget because things are moving so quickly and things are happening. And my husband is very good at this with me, like just checking me. Like he heard me record a video earlier on and he was like, what were you doing? That was amazing. I was like,
Mm.
was it? Oh, it's just the craft, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm here, I've got a limited amount of time, I'm doing the thing. Anyway, back to my friend. So she has sent me like loads of one-to-one clients, loads of Substack subscribers. I'm meeting somebody tomorrow one-to-one that is a client of hers. It's just like, and this is all this one person that just looks at me and goes,
Yes.
like, what have you done? This is amazing. Like, she just thinks it's absolutely incredible what I've been
Hmm.
able to build. And it is, of course, it is. Like, I get that. Like, and I feel so lucky. But when somebody else reflects that, you're like, oh, this is what I'm here to do. It's that reminder. Like, and I don't know, like we do look for some of that in the likes and the comments and all the things. But what I've started to realize is actually it exists now. Like it's embodied. Like I know it. Like I've learned it
Mm.
about myself because I've had the coffees with the people, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's people. It's people on this call that are watching. It's people that do other Zoom rooms with their own creative work. It's people you meet at coffee shops. It's a big thing for me is like all the work that it takes to get 1,000 new subscribers on a social media platform. A lot of work, and you're
Mm-hmm.
lucky to reach 10% of them
Mm-hmm.
on your next post, which is 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to get 100 subscribers than it is 1,000 new people on social media that you can't reach. And so that small bits of working, like of writing a post for 3 people, or with that one person in mind that would really read that thing, like that means so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's slower, it's not a growth hack, whatever, but like when you write that stuff for with that in mind, of that it doesn't have to be this fast growth. There's people on our email list that don't that probably there's a small percentage of people on our email list and people's on here that don't even know the last 8 things that we wrote about, because they're living busy lives, they're doing this, they're doing that, like, and they don't know about that upcoming thing that we're planning on or whatever, because they got
Mm-hmm.
stuff going on. And there are people that are already signed up, and yet we're still chasing like new big whatever. I need 1,000
All
new.
that.
Yeah.
The
So
numbers thing.
the
Yeah,
numbers.
so in 2025, that is super interesting to me as well, to lean into that depth of connection. So I talk about a couple of things in terms of, and I know people don't like the word content, but it's just easier, right? So, like,
Sure.
we'll call it stories, growth stories. So, the stories that are going to get you out in front of more eyes, but then also the stories that are going to convert your audience into being paid subscribers or buying into your art or whatever else it is that
Hmm.
you have made in the world. So, I think just being really clear in your own mind, like what you're writing for, like who you're writing to, and that whole bit of the picture that on Substack, it's a whole mix of everyone, but it could be just that one person that shares it with one other person that shares it with one. It's just infinite. So that's a
Hmm.
really beautiful thing. So tell your stories. I've thought of loads of stories while we've been on the call. I think Seth's got some sort of like magic that helps people think of stories.
Let's
So
go.
I don't know whether we can do anything with that, but I just feel like, whoa, I've been off in all these directions. It's
Well,
been gorgeous. Seth, what are your favorite Substacks to read? Like, what do you like to read? Like, what
ooh.
feels good to you to read? And then we'll go to a question.
Oh my goodness. Probably one of the biggest ones is Cody Cook Parrott
Oh,
of
yeah.
Monday. My goodness. Like
Yeah.
I found them years ago from, I don't even think it was the I'm leaving Instagram. I think it was their story about taxes
Mhm.
and being behind on taxes. And
Mhm.
because that was because that gave me permission, because as a, I've been self-employed since 2006. Like I haven't had a
Mhm.
full-time job since 2006. It's scary, it's still, oh, wow, I've had all those years, I'm still figuring shit out.
Mm.
And so to then see someone of that caliber that's writing and artistic and has this big email list and this, and it's like, oh wait, they're not great at taxes either, like, oh, that. So
Mhm.
it's just that like, I love and value when people write from a place of like, I'm still learning, I'm still trying to figure this out, rather than this perfect, like with my writing, I can't be like, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll get 10,000 new. Like that's not how it works. And
Mhm.
I love seeing that vulnerability of like, and being able to admit that I can't make your thing completely work. If
Mhm.
I could, you couldn't afford me. You know what I mean? Like it's like these
Yeah.
big, it's like big music producers. They could do all this cool stuff, but if they could really figure it out all the time, that they would, but they can't because there's so much
Mm.
variety here.
So
De-
much variety. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
what?
Cody's work is excellent. If anyone is not already a subscriber, like please head over. I'm a paid subscriber over there. I
Me too.
absolutely love that space, and I love it because of the honesty. The honesty that I find in the comments. Like, there's no gloss. I mean, obviously it's carefully presented for sure, like carefully thought about. All of
Hmm.
that stuff there, but it feels like we can be a little bit more real and raw. And I feel like the internet kind of robbed us of that a bit. Like the Instagram days, it was like stage fright, just stage fright after stage fright after stage fright. And I just did not do anything for creative juice. So
Hmm.
yeah, that is a beautiful space to be in for sure.
Yeah, I love to shout out. I think I saw them on this call earlier. Dedicate your life to music,
Hmm.
which is a beautiful like. And this is the thing I love too about some of the stuff that we can do on Substack. It's presenting like this work, these ideas, these concepts, and then it's like, and here it all is, and now we're gonna go deeper. And like for paid subscribers, you can join our weekly call. And like I don't mean it to because there's of course you and I have probably seen, oh, paywalls, this, that, and the other. Like fine, don't pay for it, whatever. But like the calls that Cassidy is doing with that is bringing together these musicians from various levels, seasoned veterans, total rookies that don't even know what genre music they're trying to get into, and we're all on these Zoom calls together and talking about like how to be better at this music thing, and that's how we discover one another because Cassidy was big on the whole like hey bands, you don't have to spend all day on social media. Go
Mm-hmm.
play a show. Go get in front of 10 people. That's going to do more for your career than like 48 likes. So definitely like that's another great Substack. Dedicate your life to music
Mm-hmm,
that I
mm-hmm.
really enjoy.
Beautiful. I'll check that one out. That's a new one
Yep.
to me. So, Kato's saying, as it's December, I'm thinking about a fun little thing I'll be sending with handwritten notes to people I enjoy being connected to. Since 2020, I've been sending scrapbooks written by something Hugo. My friends take pictures of them and post them. It's kind of magic. That does sound very magic. Sorry, I missed a couple of the spellings there. But yeah, that does sound really magic. And I know my friend Sarah Shots, they are also
Mm,
looking at zine production and
yes.
sending things out in a more analog type way. They've
Hmm.
got a typewriter that they type things out on, and like just mixing up the model of what we are doing with connection and being paid for our art. So there's all of that sort of stuff that's possible. I feel like with Sparkle and Substack, I should also mention that we're doing 12 Chapters Club next year. So 12 Chapters Club is going to be a challenge, really. Like for 2025, the idea is that you write 12 chapters of a book, and by the
Ooh.
end of 2025, you've got something that resembles a book or a book proposal, and you can go and do things with it in 2026. So I'm excited, and for that slower connection to what it is that we're doing. So rather than feeling we've got to publish weekly, although we can, it's like what when we bring a slower energy to a thing and we let ourselves grow into that creatively. And so Substack will be the vehicle for the delivery of that, and it's totally free for everyone. It's a
Hmm.
community challenge, right? So
Oh, that's
the
great.
idea is it's like the accountability piece, and I need that as well. Like I do really well with being connected to other people for accountability. I was just having that chat with Cody actually, and I
Mm,
think that there is something really special, again, looking at trends and stuff around how we can do that so that it's not just, all right, I've read that, on to the next one. I've read it and then I've done a thing. Like, so I'm really big on like, what is that call to action? Like, not
hmm.
necessarily in a sales way. Like, that's not it. It's just don't let somebody read something and not take an action. Like, if the action is reading and feeling, then, and that's enough, then that's great. But if you want to put a button in front of them and ask them to recommend your work, ask them to share your work, ask them to tell a friend about your work, like whatever it is, don't
Hmm.
feel afraid to do that because people like to be helpful, and especially if they've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
But I think something like Substack or something like a newsletter is conducive to that because with doing that on social media and trying to make that happen, it's just the nature of social media that it's now like keeping up with it, because now everybody's posting all, hashtag whatever the thing is, and now you have to look at the 300 people that are doing this and that. Here's other people. Social media just doesn't let you slow down enough, I feel, to do that. Whereas
Mm,
that newsletter that comes in once a week, twice a week, whatever, and like, hey, we're going to do this, like,
mm,
because also too, I just think that that is in all of this, like it's about trying to find the life that you want to live, and I'm sure a lot of people agree. I don't want to look at my phone as much. I want to go on
mhm,
more walks. I want to be out in nature. I want to be next to lakes. I want to get coffee with friends and not be frazzled and tied to my inbox of like this, that, and
mhm.
the other. Yeah, doing an email newsletter can help with that.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think that there's so much in what Substack gives us that is quite simplistic to set up, but then invites us to systemize a little bit. So the value of that welcome email that we get to use and
Mm-hmm.
edit for our free and for our paid subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Do I like to call them free subscribers? Really, like our readers, right? The people that want
Sure.
to read our work. So there's something in that welcome email that can send people in lots of different directions around their own like special interest in our work. So I really feel like there's more people could be doing with that
Mm-hmm.
space because it's automated. But then from that, you can send people into other spaces if you want. So I have a course platform. I use Podia, and it's just really because that's the one I chose at the time in 2020.
There's a lot of
You
them.
make
Yeah.
it work, you know,
Yeah.
you make it work, and that's fine. And I know that if people want to go deeper with Substack stuff, then they'll click on the link that takes them round and circles them into a little nurture sequence through
Mm-hmm.
there. And that feels really nice to do, but I haven't put a ton of energy and effort into those spaces yet because Substack kind of took off for me this year, so I've been quite busy.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth thinking about, you know, just strategically like how you hold people, where you show things to people.
Mm-hmm.
For ages I didn't have any of my social media links on my Substack, like for over a year, because I was in this very purist place of like, I finally found my platform, I found my space. Like, I don't need to be distracted by any other places, and I don't need you to be either.
Yeah.
And now they're on there because there's that cross pollination that goes on that is really interesting to me. But again, it's like 5-10% of what I'm doing, and that's
Yeah.
all it is. So yeah, I think, you know, we'll wrap it up soon because it's been amazing to speak to Stefan, and
I
thank
can't
you
believe
for
how
all of
fast this
your
went.
things.
Yes,
I know,
totally.
like a full hour. And I think
Yeah.
it's so lovely, like having the new connections of people joining. Like I was
Yeah.
saying in the members call today, you know, we're still figuring out Substack Live. Yes, we've seen all the notes about people being annoyed about it, but this is beautiful for us. Like if Seth and I were
It's
going to arrange a Zoom, like yeah, it probably would have happened, but this was much more instantaneous. It was like Seth said, yeah, I'll come on a live with you, Claire, let's do it. So we're doing it, here we are. So I think you can definitely feed back to those of us that are trying to use it and help us to understand what is in service of you, but we're also just humans, like being brave and trying a thing and
oh
like
yeah.
having a chat and seeing what comes up in that chat. So this wasn't pre-planned other than like, okay, we're going to talk about 3 things. We just went for it.
We did, yeah, and that's the terrifying thing. And I wrote about that in my newsletter today. Was just like these things are scary. Live things are scary. There's 117 people here. Like I hope I don't mess up. I hope I do weekly Zoom calls with my subscribers now. They're scary. I don't know what's going to happen. And I really think it's something for anybody in the creative world is to 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 do something live that brushes up against the possibility of everything catching fire. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like we could sit there and like edit our newsletter and this, that, and the other till it's perfect and have other people look at it and then hit send. Fine, but like doing stuff that's scary and frightening. Like I'm trying now to do a local social media escape club like meetup here in my little town.
Oh, nice.
Scared to death. I don't know how it's
Mm-hmm.
going to go. Like, if 5 people going to show up, is no people going to show up? Like, is it like I've never done this in front of a live setting? How's that going to go?
Mm-hmm.
So do it. Just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I that's maybe my final thought there. that you didn't
Yeah,
ask
I
for.
think,
But
and well, that is a beautiful final thought, isn't it? Because there is that level of discomfort. Like I was nervous before I came on this live. Like it's nerve wracking. It's odd. It's strange. Like what am I doing again? Going live on the internet to America, like from my studio. Like what is
yeah.
that? But we're here because we want connection and we're passionate about Substack. We're
Hmm.
passionate about you curating your own experience here, and that's really the important thing as you're starting to plan into 2025. But before that, like that big piece of reflection, because we've been on a hell of a journey with Substack because they've taken us on that journey. Like,
Hmm.
I don't get to know the roadmap before anyone else. Like, I'm as surprised as anyone when things appear. So
Yeah.
I think us going with it and us supporting each other and us continuing to be positive and supportive, because if you're finding the notes feed like to be negative, like take yourself out of there for a while, recurate what you're looking at. But all in all, like support your colleagues because we're all trying to do a thing and it's working really well for us all. So let's like keep that buoyant and like keep cheerleading and keep being in each other's corner. I think that would be so beautiful if we could take that intention going into 2025.
Absolutely. Just reach out, say hi, send an email, say whatever. Yeah, you and I both. Like, I just want to see people do great with this stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so good. And we'll go to
Cool.
Seth for more music recommends because I'm really
Well,
aware that. So I've got a songwriter friend, and on Spotify, I have like all the songs that he's written. Like he's written for some really big people. And I'm a bit like, wait, when did he do that? Because I
mm,
just lost some years, like 2020 to like now, basically, like with all the things that's gone on in my personal life. And then when I've got his like songs there, I'm just like, this is really cool, but I'm such a dinosaur when it comes to Spotify. I'm like, okay, what else do I do? Who else do I listen to? But
mm-hmm,
it's this gig has like reignited my experience of that whole industry, right? Like the whole industry, like mine, like the cultural sector, like has had some struggles, and we want to be able to support it. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm connected to Seth and his recommendations and
oof,
listen to more music and feel more things.
yes, yes. I'll be sure to include that in upcoming newsletters that I put out for sure. So cool.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. It's been so
Absolutely.
lovely to speak to you. Thanks to all of you for joining live. And if you have got other comments and questions, obviously for the replay, the other comments will be open there. So do chat to us both. I'll add Seth as an author so that he'll get notified as well. Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
Sounds great. Bye,
See
everybody.
you really soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.